Darlington is supposed to be the meanest racetrack.
This is Darlington International Raceway, the granddaddy of them all. It's happened.
And he certainly appears to be unconscious.
Fast, bad son of a...
Because that place is our roots.
Name the great ones. Darlington will tell you which are the greatest.
You think it's going to be just another Sunday drive? No, ma'am.
From its first race, Darlington Raceway stood out as NASCAR's first paved superspeedway. The granddaddy of NASCAR's racetracks started writing history nearly 10 years before Daytona International Speedway.
My grandfather always said anybody could go to Daytona and win. Darlington was the place in his mind.
And it's the most odd-shaped, worn-out piece of junk racetrack you've ever seen in your life.
Darlington doesn't have those really nice suites and chandeliers and crap. It's a racetrack. It's a freaking racetrack. It's a badass racetrack.
And it was the best thing that ever happened to NASCAR. There's no other track like it, and that's the magic.
What makes Darlington so great is the racetrack. It is what happens between that inner wall and that outer wall for 500 miles.
The rocks and the sand that's in the soil down there. Made in the old school southern low-grip asphalt.
The distinctive pavement wasn't the only unique quality of the raceway. The site was once a plantation with a highly prized minnow pond. To accommodate this landmark, the track became shaped more like an egg than an oval. These oddities forged the mystique of a track competitors labeled too tough to tame.
Darlington is called a driver's track. Its mile and 3/8 is one of the most difficult to drive.
It's more up to the driver than it is at most tracks.
Unlike any track, this oval produced victors of uncommon valor. Here, legends arose, distinguished by the same grit that paved such hallowed ground.
If I was to go back to running today, I'd try my best to run the same place I did before.
Even with all of its difficulties, I wanted to race at Darlington.
The two ends are polar opposites of each other. The only thing that's a constant is they're both extremely narrow.
You come down the front stretch and kind of pump yourself up mentally to be really brave. And then down the back stretch, you're going so fast because the shape of the corner. And then you have to try to pull the reins back in and slow yourself down.
This is a real tricky part of the racetrack.
When you really ask drivers where they'd like to win, they all want to put Darlington on their resume.
I know going into victory lane there has meant a ton to me. It's a tough, tough racetrack.
Mastery of Darlington required guts. Creating such a revered site required vision. Even its first running, over a half-century ago, stands as a legendary tale on its own.
I don't want to live with the uncertainties of Hep C.
Or wonder whether I should seek treatment. I am ready.
Because today, there's Harvoni, a revolutionary treatment for the most common type of chronic hepatitis C. Harvoni is proven to cure up to 99% of patients who've had no prior treatment. It transformed treatment as the first cure that's one pill once a day for 12 weeks. Certain patients can be cured with just 8 weeks of Harvoni. Harvoni is a simple treatment regimen that's been prescribed to more than 250,000 patients. Tell your doctor if you've had a liver transplant, other liver or kidney problems, HIV, or any other medical conditions, and about all the medicines you take, including herbal supplements. Taking amiodarone with Harvoni may cause a serious slowing of your heart rate. Common side effects of Harvoni may include tiredness, headache, and weakness.
I am ready to put Hep C behind me.
I am ready to be cured.
Are you ready? Ask your Hep C specialist if Harvoni is right for you.
Everybody has a flashlight, but can your flashlight do this? Or how about this? The Bell & Howell Tactical Flashlight can. Similar to flashlights used by elite military units, the Bell & Howell Tac Light can do things no ordinary flashlight can do. It's so bright, it can be seen up to 2 nautical miles away. And if that something that goes bump in the night turns out to be someone, only a tac light has a super bright strobe that can stun and disorient would-be attackers. A car battery will stop working in sub-zero temperatures, but even getting frozen in a block of ice couldn't make our tac light stop working. And it'll keep working when fully submerged in water, even 212-degree boiling water. It's tough enough to survive getting run over by a Humvee. Try that with a regular flashlight. Compact and lightweight, it goes where you go. So you can feel safe in dark places at night, or just have the right light for emergency situations. And there's never been a better choice for camping, fishing, or hunting. What else? 5 preset modes. It's made of high-grade aircraft aluminum. The bulb lasts 100,000 hours. I mean, there's just nothing like it on the market today. But this offer won't last long, so here's how to get yours.
Tactical flashlights of this quality are selling right now for $60 or more. But Bell & Howell has slashed their price to just $19.99, and they'll even ship it to you free. Plus, every tac light comes with a lifetime guarantee. And that's not all. Order today and you can get a second tac light. Just pay a separate fee. You can get 2 Bell & Howell tac lights backed by a lifetime guarantee for the amazing price of just $19.99 and get free shipping. Here's how to order.
To get your tac light for only $19.99 and get a second one free, call 1-800-998-5785 or go to trytaclight.com. This offer is not available in stores, so call 1-800-998-5785. That's 1-800-998-5785 or order online at trytaclight.com.
Daytona International Speedway was built to be fast. Talladega Superspeedway was built to be big. But Darlington Raceway was built first.
There are other big tracks now. There are other races. But here's where big league stock car racing was born, at Darlington.
NASCAR was a baby when the raceway in Darlington was dreamed up. A sport just beginning to crawl was about to run, leaving behind dirt tracks for asphalt, half miles for mile plus. The raceway at Darlington was a dream, a gamble. Darlington Raceway was the vision of a truck-driving construction worker named Harold Brasington.
So Harold Brasington built the cradle of the racing game as we know it today.
The first really large race I saw was at Pineville, right out of Charlotte. It was a board track, and it was either a 250-mile or 500-mile race. My father took me up there in 1924. And it's such a tremendous race. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's when the bug really hit me.
He's been called a visionary, and that's a good way to describe him. He actually wrote an introductory letter in the program for the first Southern 500. And he said, daydreaming's the inalienable right for every American.
In 1933, I got in the car, a few friends and myself, and we went to Indy.
It was hard for people to relate to an Indy car. So he had the idea of building the Darlington Raceway and then have stock cars. They could bring a car out that people could relate to.
Another man inspired by the big car racing of Indianapolis was Bill France. He formed NASCAR in 1948 and knew Brasington from the beach races in Daytona. France thought stock car racing could turn a few heads. Brasington thought NASCAR could turn into a sports revolution.
Bill France had a dirt track organization. The idea of a paved track for those cars to run like 500 miles wasn't a chance in the world. But Harold went ahead and did it anyway.
So on Sunday afternoon, nothing, see 300 or 400 people come out and watch out what we're doing. They said, well, he's either got a sunstroke or lost his mind, one or the other. They said, he said, well, I said, I'll show you one day.
Labor Day 1950. That was the day that Brasington had in mind. Fitting for this lofty labor of love. Brasington stood behind his vision of a paved raceway as the future of NASCAR, while others wondered if he had lost his mind.
They started selling stock, and people in Darlington were just shaking their heads going, this is crazy. And they shook their heads all the way into the bank to take money out and buy stock. A lot of people were skeptical, but they weren't going to miss out on it either.
In just over a year, Harold Brazelton turned a peanut patch and pecan grove into a mecca for motorsports.
Mr. Conamacky, you've always been close to racing, but, you know, this is a bit ridiculous.
Well, Jackie, everyone always wants to drive the winning car at Darlington, and now I've finally done it. And this is the winning car of the very first Southern 500, Labor Day, 1950, the race that put stock car racing in the major leagues.
Bill France was there, Raymond Parks was there, so many Hall of Famers were there for that first race. That speaks volumes to what Darlington was, even in the beginning. You had to be there. If you wanted to race, you had to go to Darlington.
Curtis Turner was going to be there. You know, the previous year's champion, Red Byron. Herschel McGriff was fresh off his win in the Mexican road race, which made worldwide news, so holy cow.
In Mexico, Bill France's description of the giant paved raceway astonished Herschel McGriff. In the days before interstates, GPS, and tractor trailers, a driver like Herschel didn't simply prepare a car to race. He actually drove his 1950 Oldsmobile from Oregon to South Carolina.
I would get a U.S. map and I'd draw a line from Portland straight to Darlington. And then each state map that I was going to go through to find my direction. But that one line would always keep me from getting way off course.
After a 3,000-mile drive, McGriff still had 500 more miles to go. 25,000 fans turned out for the show.
On the largest and most modern stock car speedway in the world, 75 cars parade, ready to race for the largest purse ever offered in stock car competition.
Like going from acoustic to electric, Darlington unveiled a new era in stock car racing.
Here they come. They're off. It was crowded. There was cars running 8 or 10 deep, side by side, and get it everywhere.
Those guys would get up to speed down the front stretch, and then when they get to the first corner, instead of going in the corner up on the bank, they would turn and go around the flat. You're looking at a racetrack that was designed for 115 miles an hour that they now run 190 miles an hour, but it took a long time for people to get brave enough on a mile racetrack to get up on the bank.
Everybody had a different ideas about what it would take to survive 500 miles. Some of them even put black underneath the eyes like football players.
The tires were a bit of a problem, too. They were just popping tires like popcorn.
500 punishing miles that equal the strain of 50,000 miles of normal highway driving.
Some of the mechanics were actually going out into the infield and taking tires off of, you know, some of the fans' cars to, so that they have enough tires to finish the race.
Blows a tire and slides. There's another one out of control. No, he's all right.
The bank was so hard on tires because it was not smooth up there. When the rollers were rolling, they didn't get the rocks down.
Paved tracks were not foreign to Johnny Mance. The Californian was the slowest qualifier of the field, but he was the only one who came to Darlington prepared for the abusive asphalt.
Johnny Mance had raced at Indianapolis several times, and he knew that you needed a very hard compound, and he brought truck tires with him.
While we were changing tires, he was making up laps on us. You know, we're changing tires with wheel wrenches and a jack, and guys that had never done it.
They didn't have the regular guy that go to the racetrack shoot. I'd go to drugstores and barber shops, beer joints, anywhere else. They had overalls on and everything else. Just pick up anybody that wanted to go to the race. He'd get him in freeway. He'd work on the car, you know.
How many laps did we lose every time we stopped? It's hard to tell. And meanwhile, he's just going around there adding them up. And he come on, he got first place.
Johnny Mance in this 49 Plymouth, and he drove for 6 hours and 38 minutes, and he won $10,000.
A track emerged that was too tough for just any driver to master. And one day, in a usually quiet South Carolina town, NASCAR was transformed.
What's Le Mans, or Monza, or Monte Carlo? Nothing compared to Darlington. We are the capital of the auto racing world.
You gotta be cool, calm, collected, look your fear in the eye. You gotta be shaking off the pressure, gotta be taking your time. Hammer ups, down.
right, we're gonna take you for the tour. First floor, bun. Second floor, 2 patties. Third floor, penthouse, 6 strips of bacon, sesame seed roof. Sunset.
Try the new Bacon King with a half pound of beef and 6 strips of crispy bacon. It's truly the Bacon King, only at Burger King.
Liberty Mutual stood with me when I was too busy with the kids to get a repair estimate. I just snapped a photo and got an estimate in 24 hours.
My insurance company definitely doesn't have that.
You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
We are the unstoppable forces. We are the heart-pounding.
Brad Marchand!
And the head-turning.
Alex Ovechkin!
We are the night you love to hate. Wednesday Night Rivalry on NBCSN.
Introducing Polo Blue Eau de Parfum. Experience the intensity. Polo Blue Eau de Parfum, the new men's fragrance by Ralph Lauren.
Racing introduced Darlington to the world. Darlington obliged through genuine South Carolina hospitality with parades, pageants, and of course, a party.
This was a car like in the first Southern 500 that Buck Baker drove. Unfortunately, it was the first one to wreck. We like to take them out of mothballs at least once or twice a year. Let fans see what a little bit of racing history sounds like and looks like. My dad and uncle were at the racetrack, and I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I'd go to the parade with my grandfather. And remember that as very vivid memories as a young kid. Darlington drew people from all over the United States and foreign countries. For back in the 50s and 60s, that was quite a draw. All the motels would be slammed full, restaurants. I mean, it was the biggest weekend of the year.
You know, you mentioned Darlington, there's like this instant, electrical charge that, you just harken back to the early days.
The pre-race action reaches a peak with the big parade through downtown Darlington. Now, downtown Darlington is not exactly New York or Chicago, but a parade's a parade.
That all came out of South Carolina pride. Darlington had something that others didn't. And they realized real soon that it was real different.
It wasn't too long into its tenure there that they said, well, heck, let's just have a big old blowout.
For these people, it's the World Series, the Kentucky Derby, the Super Bowl, all brought right to their hometown.
Most days you drive right through Darlington and never know it. There's one more race before the big one. 30 of Carolina's best-looking girls are lined up on the main straightaway at the track trying to win the Miss Southern 500 beauty title. There's the winner.
And then also they started bringing in big TV stars, too, like James Arness, Rory Calhoun, who was one of the big heartthrobs back then. And that brought worldwide attention.
That was a big deal. I mean, just huge names of the time.
It was unbelievable. I mean, here you're watching TV and seeing Gunsmoke or Rawhide, back in Eastwood's day. And all of a sudden, here they are.
They wanted to be seen, and that was like one of the big major events for the country, and it was probably the #1 stop on the circuit until Daytona opened.
And of course, we got to see our favorite race car drivers on the floats as well. So, it was a neat time when things were a lot more relaxed. The drivers were in town for a long time. They spent a lot of time in the community. And, everywhere there was a cookout, kind of a festival atmosphere going on.
Darlington, a quiet town of 6,000, hung out the welcome sign.
From far and near, the fans began to gather.
That was the last big blowout of the year, you know, the last big blowout of summer, Labor Day.
And when you think of Darlington over the years, you think of Labor Day.
Sunday night, the racetrack starts to fill. It's a Darlington tradition to spend the night before the race camped in the infield. There's about 10,000 fans settled in by nightfall. The kids are packed off to bed in trucks, tents, and trailers. But some of the fans won't get to sleep till sunup.
Like the asphalt ribbon that surrounded the infield, the holiday party could have a real rough edge.
That was the greatest party day in racing. Sunday. Track wasn't open, everybody partied.
It was raucous. The things that went on there were crazy. The infield was known as the Snake Pit.
I have to admit, I felt pretty special knowing that my granddad built this place. And I can remember the first time he drove me up into the infield through that tunnel. It was like a portal to another world. I mean, I saw these structures coming out of the beds of pickup trucks. People had built these platforms. The crowd was overwhelming. They had a jail in the infield. It was a rough crowd. They had a good time.
While fans turned Darlington's infield into their own Woodstock, drivers turning laps had their own wild time. Generations of drivers and cars have been branded with a Darlington stripe.
The custom sheet metal wear comes from a 140-mile-an-hour brush with the rail.
You're always trying to pride yourself in not getting one.
If it didn't come back with a Darlington stripe, you slap the driver because he's not getting it done.
But not all brushes with the wall truly capture the Darlington legend.
For the record, if you go into turn one, that's not a Darlington stripe, that's a wreck. The Darlington stripe is when you would come off that corner and get that thing hung out where you would lay on that guardrail, and it would put two distinct areas on the quarter pounder or on the right rear bumper. And a lot of drivers would drive it and just set their car on that guardrail almost. That's a Darlington stripe.
The stripe is a rite of passage on this old track, but dancing with Darlington can be a turbulent tango. The lady in black may sound cute, but that's a nickname earned by a history of ugly scenes.
There's something about the design, something about the aura of Darlington that causes spectacular action.
You got to get in there single file. You can't go in there two abreast in the three.
What happens if you go in two abreast?
Somebody's going over the wall.
Johnny Allen torpedoes the scoring stand. The cameraman recording this very motion picture is hit. These are the films he keeps shooting as he's hit. Allen is alive, miraculously.
It is Richard Petty. And he certainly appears to be unconscious. Do they have him out of the car? Yes, there he is. He's in the ambulance, and Richard Petty will be rushed to the hospital.
Some people didn't come probably because of the danger. Others probably came because of the danger. So, you know, it makes it exciting. And a lot of people are attracted to racing because it's an exciting sport.
Darlington never has been a normal track, and it never will be. And there's too much folklore, there's too much history, there's too many bright spots, low spots. It's totally the track of the unexpected.
At the General, it's easy to get an online car insurance quote with your mobile phone.
Or on your tablet or computer in minutes. Just go to thegeneral.com. Monthly payments are low, and you can get immediate proof of insurance.
Get your anonymous online quote with low payments and ride with the General. Cut. General, selfie time. Smile, General.
Sure. For a great low rate you can get online, go to the General and save some time.
Okay, that's a one-piece breast, $5. Pot pie cost you $5. That's a famous bowl, $5 bills. Tenders for a $5. And that's my two-piece original recipe, also $5. That's 5 real meals, each for $5. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
When I act, if I do this, or if I do this, I'm totally in control. I don't have PBA, but if you're someone with pseudobulbar affect, you don't always get to choose. PBA causes frequent outbursts of uncontrollable crying or laughing in people with brain injuries or certain neurologic conditions. But PBA is treatable. Ask your doctor or go to pbafacts.com.
What I love most about Tempur-Pedic mattresses is that they contour to your body. It keeps us comfortable and asleep at night.
Get your Tempur-Pedic, the most highly recommended bed in America, for as low as $25 per month and a 90-night free trial.
In life, you have to adapt to your environment. That's why Jaguar's instinctive all-wheel drive system constantly monitors the road surface and driver inputs hundreds of times every second. Outstanding performance all year round. Jaguar all-wheel drive.
For great offers, visit your local Jaguar retailer during the Unwrap a Jaguar sales event.
This is not just sport. These are not just teams. And these are not merely the best clubs in England. They are the great houses of football. Welcome to Premier League Sunday, where City battles City as they march towards laying claim to the crown. Premier League Sunday coverage begins at 6:30 on NBCSN.
It just seems right that NASCAR's oldest paved track was the sport's most demanding.
Nobody's ever backed into a win there. I mean, if you won there, you won because you earned it.
2/3 of NASCAR's Premier Series champions graced Darlington's victory lane. More than half of her winners also claim their place in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
It was only something that you dreamed of, that you could win a cup race at Darlington against the very best.
You had the Fireballs and the Curtis Turners and the Junior Johnsons and the Ned Jarretts. Those are the guys that won that place, not Joe Smo from Kokomo.
Through the 1950s and 60s, South Carolina hosted the marquee date on the NASCAR calendar. Those 2 decades in the spotlight meant the time had come for South Carolina to call forward 2 of her own. Local pride soared thanks to 2 native sons who achieved even more than fame and championship. The supremacy of David Pearson and Cale Yarborough from 1968 to 1982 yielded 15 wins out of 30 races.
To have 2 of its native sons win and win big has been huge. Not every track can say that, but Darlington sure can.
Cale Yarborough was born and raised 8 miles from Darlington. He'd surely like to make a hometown crowd proud of him.
This whole stock car game is based on towns. It's not based on college and universities. Our folks came from the roots where we came from. And what made Cale so good there? He was one of the most determined, grittiest guys there was, and he was just plain fearless.
I was such a Cale fan growing up. I'll never forget that look in his eyes. I mean, he still has that competitive fire.
Cale Yarborough and Dave Pearson are moving to a showdown.
Anytime that I had run with him, he was tough to pass.
Cale Yarborough was the bulldog. He was the charger. He was going to put his foot in it all day long.
Pearson on the inside, trying to take him. And they're absolutely right together, and Pearson bangs him into the wall again, and Pearson's in a spin. Cale gets through, and Pearson is down on the infield.
The checkered flag for Cale Yarborough. Cale Yarborough's made a boyhood dream come true.
Well, Cale, it must be a happy day for you, eh?
Yes, this is the happiest day of my life.
The first time victory before a hometown crowd.
Right, and do it at home, that makes it better than anything in the world.
All 5 of Yarborough's Darlington wins were in the Labor Day Classic, the Southern 500. The Southern boy who pushed the sport into national prominence had a humble start. Ironically, on a course called Yankee Hill.
My racing career started in a soapbox derby down a hill in Darlington, South Carolina. My dad was a race fan, and so I heard him talking about how great it was going to be to have the first super speedway right here in our backyard. It looked like it was 10 miles around. Competitors are tough, but that racetrack is what you had to beat. I can drive by that racetrack now and get goosebumps just thinking about how tough that old place was. I hated the racetrack itself, but loved to win there better than anywhere else in the world. It was just physically and mentally tough. My win in Darlington in 1968, I would take it over any Daytona 500 because that's where it all started.
Even with great success against the field, Yarborough had more than his share of battles with the track too tough to tame.
It was just the car. You had to get the car underneath on it. And if you did, it didn't make no difference to him. He'd drive the fire out of that thing.
He won a lot of races at Darlington, but could he have won more if he had driven the Pearson way? It's hard to say.
It's more or less a thinking track. Every lap, you got to configure and think about the other guys, and it's still a one-groove racetrack, just like it's always been. Just certain places that you can pass.
Pearson is a very smart driver and would think about things. He just knew where he could go and when he could go.
Pearson held the lead for 18 laps, then let a few cars go by to see if Darlington was going to create any problems. It did. David Pearson had quietly tiptoed through the debris as the man in the start-finish tower waves the black and white.
People talking about it too tough to tame, and I said, if anybody's going to tame it, I'm going to try to tame it.
The reigning champion from Spartanburg, North Carolina,
We go to Darlington, and I remember him telling us, he says, I might run a little quicker qualifying. He goes out, sits on pole, wins the race.
No driver has won more races at Darlington than David Pearson.
There's the checkered flag, and the fans are wildly cheering for their hero, David Pearson.
Pearson was a timeless hero for a timeless track. With 10 wins, a milestone that continues to be chased. Decades after retirement, he is still an inspiration.
David Pearson, he's one of those legendary guys that you just read about or see on TV, and so hanging out with him was really neat. I got to do a really neat thing with him at Darlington. I'm driving along in my, 2008 Claritin car, and I look over, and here he is, his arm on the window of the 21. He's just looking at me, and I thought, this is so cool.
See David Pearson passing me in the 21 car at Darlington. I'll never forget what that looked like.
It usually be a little bit tight coming off right here, but you know how I showed you how I went up and come across? Right. That would take that tightness out of it, and you wouldn't push coming off. One of these days, I'd like to get in one of these cars and see what it felt like.
And obviously, that track has been so great to him.
To have my name up there with guys like David Pearson would be huge.
7 years later, the driving tips paid off.
He'll add his name to the legends that have won at Darlington. Carl Edwards wins the Southern 500.
To be a winner at the Southern 500, I mean, it's crazy. It was neat to make it just Darlington for just a moment. That's kind of fun.
Look at this.
These Lyft drivers are picking up people quick.
How quick?
It's like 3.5 minutes.
It's too fast.
Way too fast.
We gotta slow them down. How are we gonna do it?
Spike strips.
No.
Lasers.
I don't understand that.
Cattle on the road.
Maybe. What else?
Tryptophan.
Like turkeys?
Yeah.
Just put it inside the driver.
Pop it in.
I love it.
I have a way better deal here, 10 nuggets for $1.49. I think 2 full Whopper meals for $10 is clearly the better deal. He wears glasses, and he can't see which is the better deal. You want these glasses? No, I don't.
Get 2 Whopper meals for $10 or 10 nuggets for $1.49. Only at Burger King.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Introducing Otezla, Apremilast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable after just 4 months. with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't take Otezla if you're allergic to any of its ingredients. Otezla may increase the risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Side effects may include diarrhea, nausea, upper respiratory tract infection, and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla. Show more of you.
Credit Karma? Why are you checking your credit score?
You don't want to ride the 13L forever, do you?
The doctor said it's not contagious.
Credit Karma, huh?
Yeah, it's free.
Credit Karma. Give yourself some credit.
Says it won't let up for a while.
The Cadillac XT5.
What should we do?
Tailored to you.
Wait it out.
Equipped with Apple CarPlay compatibility.
Now during season's best, get this low-mileage lease on this Cadillac XT5 from around $429 per month, or purchase with 0% APR financing.
Each Labor Day weekend, Darlington, South Carolina hosted the biggest opening act any sporting event could imagine.
There's television stars and important guests from every part of South Carolina.
It's important enough to bring award-winning television personalities like James Brolin here.
Among the judges, Clint Eastwood, TV star.
A-list celebrities poured into town for the Southern 500 parade and pageant. But top billing of the Labor Day spectacle belonged to the rising stars of racing. Early on, the Raceway established a history of picking out the heroes of each generation. In 1961, a driver out of Illinois named Fred Lorenzen startled the Darlington crowd by challenging the Southern hero, Curtis Turner.
Here comes Lorenzen, number 28. They keep an eye on him. Lorenzen's running like an outlaw.
The win catapulted Lorenzen into a celebrated Hall of Fame career, a path many more would follow. There was Darrell Waltrip over Richard Petty.
Darrell Waltrip wins the Rebel 500.
Terry Labonte over David Pearson.
And there Labonte has gotten past Pearson, and there it is. Terry Labonte gets the checkered flag.
Dale Earnhardt over Cale Yarborough.
Dale Earnhardt on his way to a victory in the Rebel 500.
Those weren't fluke wins. They were defining moments.
You know, this old place will bite you. You can't forget where you're racing at.
Darlington International Raceway opened the gates this morning, and some 40 race cars have swarmed into the garage area. Who will win all the marbles tomorrow? Well, you pick a name. Could be Buddy Baker, Lorenzen, Petty, Isaacs. What it all adds up to is the hottest competition ever staged here at the granddaddy of all the super speedways, the Darlington Raceway.
Media coverage of a race wasn't new, but Darlington became the first stock car track to be covered coast to coast. Little Darlington became nationally known through TV contracts and its own syndicated radio network.
As racing becomes more popular, the news media grows with it also. It goes from being local to being more statewide and then nationwide, and the next thing you know, you've got TV. Hi, I'm Bill Fleming, back at this mean old race course in Darlington, South Carolina. Certainly, the media made a difference.
The exposure made the Southern 500 an even richer prize on the NASCAR calendar as their final event of the Winston Million Bonus Program.
This is a 4-race combination that will give one driver a shot at winning $1 million from Winston.
The expectation was, well, that million's safe. No one will ever get it.
I was sitting at the banquet in '84. Boy, that'd be great to win that, wouldn't it? And I'm thinking, well, I've never won Daytona, I've never won here, and I've never won there, and it's like a long shot.
Only twice had a driver swept Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, or Darlington in one season.
Leroy Yarborough begins a string of major victories unparalleled in the history of the sport.
And there's the checker for Dave Pearson, the winner.
The Grand Slam hadn't been accomplished since 1976. But in 1985, Bill Elliott kicked off the inaugural chase of the Winston Million by winning Daytona and Talladega.
Everyone thought he'd win it in 3 races, but he had trouble, so immense pressure going to Darlington.
The Million would be won or lost at Darlington, where Elliott would race the competition and NASCAR's toughest track.
We had our heads screwed on pretty straight when we went into that race. Things just kind of fell in my lap.
And turn number 2, it's Earnhardt. And right in front of Elliott, and Elliott misses him. Boy, that was close. Bill Elliott almost saw the $1 million go away.
It seemed like he dodged bullets all day long. He came up behind Cal Yarborough, and all of a sudden, all kinds of smoke. Immediately, you thought, oh, my gosh, Bill's going to smash into the wall. It really took your breath away for a minute because everybody was on board for Bill to win that $1 million.
One of the greatest memories I can think of is when Bill Elliott won the Winston Million back in the day. That really put that up on a pedestal.
Bill Elliott gets the checkered flag. Bill Elliott has won an additional $1 million in 1985.
There was something about Darlington that really kind of suited my driving style. Everything just fell perfectly that day.
After the surprise win of the first Winston Million, the Lady in Black kept other suitors at bay. But there were a few that came within a breath of cashing in before being struck by some bad fortune.
As we continue to keep the progress of Waltrip, and he may be slowing down. Sterling Marlin goes around on the outside. Oh, he's in the wall! Jared is in the wall!
All right.
Oh, no!
I'm in the wall.
In 1997, Jeff Gordon rolled into Darlington with the Winston Million in play. Daytona and Charlotte had been kind, but would luck be a lady at Darlington?
What makes it really, really intriguing to everybody in this garage area is that one guy has ever done it. And $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, 97 Southern 500 was for $1 million. I mean, $1 million.
It was intense for sure. A lot of money on the line, but it was the hype. That was the big thing about it. It was everybody building it up.
Today's the day. Jeff Gordon goes for the Winston Million.
Between Winston and what they were putting behind it, marketing, what the sport was doing, and then trying to capitalize on that moment with our sponsors, with me personally and our team and everything. We put more into that race from a marketing and hype standpoint than any other that I can think of.
If he is the first to finish 500 miles, then he will reap the riches.
We can just stay out of trouble and be at the end. I think our chances are good.
Money was a driving incentive, but Gordon had to contend with Jeff Burton, a driver motivated by the opportunity to claim his first Darlington victory.
It was no easy task. Jeff Burton, who's so good at Darlington, he was faster than us.
Looked like Jeff Gordon had to get off the throttle that time off too for some reason, and Burton closes in.
Up to 99 inside, clear behind. I'm doing all I can right now to hang on to it.
He got a run on me and got underneath me, and I ran him very hard and didn't cut him any slack.
It was only like 2 laps left, and then when I drove underneath Jeff coming off turn 4, getting the white flag, we were so much faster than him. When he turned left and ran me down the racetrack, I was wanting to avoid contact. Buddy Parrott, my crew chief at the time, he got in trouble because he was yelling on the radio, "Wreck him, wreck him, wreck him."
Jeff Burton will make a challenge off the corner onto the straightaway.
Yeah, we did it!
But Jeff Gordon runs it.
To hold him off, he could have ended our day very easily.
I still say that Jeff Gordon owes Jeff Burton half of that, because in today's world, somebody would have took him out.
He raced us hard. We raced him hard. We ended up coming away with $1 million and celebrating the Winston Million.
Following the 1997 $1 million win, Gordon captured another impressive feat by winning his 4th straight Southern 500.
It's his 10th win of 1998, his 4th consecutive in the Southern 500.
Nearing 50 years as the landmark of the sport, the allure, reward, and tradition of Darlington helped NASCAR grow into a national phenomenon. The perfect stage for stock car racing's definitive finish.
This is going to be close. Ricky Craven gets the win.
The growth and excitement Darlington made possible threatened its future.
Psst, there's a smarter choice.
Here for the smarter choice? My razors will get you a high-quality shave at a very economical price.
Cool.
Nope, can't have this one. It's display. Try our best razor for $1 with free shipping at DollarShaveClub.com.
What I love most about Tempur-Pedic mattresses is that they contour to your body. It keeps us comfortable and asleep at night.
Get your Tempur-Pedic, the most highly recommended bed in America,
for as low as $25 per month and a 90-night free trial.
Okay, that's a one-piece breast, $5. Pot pie cost you $5. That's a famous bowl, $5 bills. Tenders for a $5. And that's my two-piece original recipe, also $5. That's 5 real meals, each for $5. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
This is Premier League Sunday, where the great houses of football battle as they march towards laying claim to the crown. Premier League Sunday coverage begins at 6:30 on NBCSN.
Introducing Polo Blue Eau de Parfum. Experience the intensity. Polo Blue Eau de Parfum, the new men's fragrance by Ralph Lauren.
At the turn of the century, the popularity of NASCAR reached extraordinary heights. The rise to become America's largest spectator sport was fueled by stars that made their name on NASCAR's most challenging course. After a half-century of highlights, Darlington Raceway served up the most thrilling finish in the sport's history.
Racing for the lead and the win. The crowd on the back straightaway is just going delirious.
They are dead even coming down to the line. This is going to be close. Ricky Craven gets the win, and they continue the crash headed up into turn one.
Craven pounds the wall, bounces off it. Kurt Busch right back at him.
Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. You put two guys in that car, and that's the greatest race in the world right there.
Here they come at the entrance to the corner. One car length separate the top two.
When Ricky Craven and I were going back and forth, it was like boxers just taking their gloves off.
Getting physical here at Darlington Raceway like it's supposed to be.
They bump. Busch brushes the wall. They bounce off each other. Craven has the lead. Busch back underneath, regains the top spot.
Very difficult to pass at Darlington. Extra difficult when the tires are wore out, and they were.
Ricky Craven in hot pursuit, pedal to the metal.
Craven has another shot, but only one. The white flag out this time.
I wasn't sure that I could actually pass him. You know, I was sure I could get ahead of him. And with a few laps to go, it's going to be a contact sport.
Busch, Craven, nose to tail. Here comes Craven down to the bottom, trying to hang on. Both cars are loose in four.
This is going to be close. They lean on one another. Across the line, Ricky Craven gets the win.
That's the kind of racing in the old days you used to see at Darlington. They got physical for the last 5 laps, and Ricky Craven couldn't have won by more than 6 inches.
I always wanted to win Darlington. Always, always, always. It's just too tough to tame, and I think as a racer, you really get up for a place like this.
How weird, you know, the paradox of this racetrack, the closest finish, and then the largest margin of victory in 1965 with Ned Jarrett. That was pretty phenomenal in its state. Kind of the end of an era, really, for Darlington, because after that, it just kind of trailed off.
The enthusiasm for historic events like the 2003 spring race in Darlington led the sport into new markets, new racetracks, new sponsorship opportunities. But the expansion beyond racing's southeastern roots left Darlington as a relic of the past. Struggling to hold its place in the sport, it helped build.
Evolution. Time has changed. We're now going to Kansas twice a year. We're going to Phoenix twice a year. We're going to Texas. We're going to different markets and, Rockingham, North Wilkesboro. All of those were getting chopped.
Since the mid-50s, NASCAR traveled to Darlington in the spring and at Labor Day. But that changed in 2004. With a restructured schedule that showed the market-driven emphasis on more fans, better amenities, and bigger action.
We are here today to announce some changes. The Southern 500 will move from Labor Day weekend to the November weekend formerly held by North Carolina Speedway.
You always have to move stuff around for the betterment of the growth of the business, even sometimes when it carries that heavy attachment to tradition.
As much as we like to glorify everything, stands weren't as full as they needed to be.
We were saying, that's not fair. Labor Day belongs here.
When you move that around, it comes with some controversy.
It was born in the South, but now is heading west and leaving more than a few good old fans steaming mad.
We were upset. We did not like Labor Day being moved. And of course, we weren't sure that NASCAR was going to stay here at all in years to come because of how popular the sport had gotten. We didn't know what the future was here for this racetrack.
It's little old Darlington, and it's not multi-million-dollar skyboxes on top of the grandstands. I mean, it just has that old-school feel to it.
This is just another step of modernizing tradition. It's not forsaking it. It's not walking away from it.
When they moved it, said they were modernizing tradition. I said, what in the hell is that? How do you modernize tradition?
When I use the term modernizing tradition, is whatever you do next is going to set a footprint that either becomes spectacular or just another footprint.
For 10 years, Darlington felt its tradition erode. A race forever held around Labor Day was moved to Mother's Day. A race run in the sweltering heat of the day was moved to the shadow of night. Once, Darlington even hosted a race in November. Proven drivers were still carrying the Darlington tradition, but something was different. As the growing pains of a sport seeking new fans and a nation under the strain of a recession left a small South Carolina town clinging to its national relevance.
That's part of what made our sport what it is today, and now I think there's times when you can actually get too big, and when you go to Darlington, you forget about the fact that maybe we outgrew our shoes at times and bring it back down to its core roots. I mean, it's a good reminder of how we got where we are.
While NASCAR spent its Labor Days in other parts of the country, Darlington tried to redefine its legend. But the ache of nostalgia alone is not enough to revive tradition.
If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis and you're talking to your doctor about your medication, this is Humira. This is Humira helping to relieve my pain and protect my joints from further damage. This is Humira helping me go further. Humira works for many adults. It targets and helps to block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to RA symptoms. Humira has been clinically studied for over 18 years.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB. Hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Ready for a new chapter? Talk to your rheumatologist. This is Humira at work.
No matter how the markets change, at T. Rowe Price, our disciplined approach remains. Global markets may be uncertain, but you can feel confident in our investment experience around the world. Call us or your advisor. T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
Okay, that's a one-piece breast, $5. Pot pie cost you $5. That's a famous bowl, $5. Tenders for a $5. And that's my two-piece original recipe, also $5. That's 5 real meals, each for $5. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
First, there's shaving. Blades, sharp and precise.
Then Gillette Shielding, comfy lubrication before and after. And also cooling. Ooh, got goosebumps. Gillette Pro Shield Chill with lubrication before and after the blades. Shields and cools while you shave. Pro Shield Chill from Gillette, the best a man can get. Pro Shield, available with or without chill.
With a divisional showdown, Raiders, Chiefs, Thursday Night Football on NBC and NFL Network.
After a 12-year hiatus, the race is back where it belongs. The return of the Southern 500 to Labor Day weekend. Teams, drivers, and the track itself looks back on its heritage, its tradition, its legends and heroes.
It's definitely throwback NASCAR. Feels like home again.
While we were off doing Labor Day in Atlanta or other places, even though we may have been in a different garage area, the conversations were about weekends in Darlington.
It comes home today with a far more meaningful position we would never have known about had they not gone west for a while.
The Southern 500 returned to Darlington for Labor Day weekend in 2015. The weathered look of this lady in black was restored, along with the pride of a state, a city, and a people.
The idea to go back to Labor Day and run into Southern 500 is something that our sport really, really needed.
The retro paint schemes looked great, and the drivers brought their A game, and I just felt a huge sense of gratification that my grandfather's dream and vision was back, and it was exactly what he would want to see happen.
Coming back to Darlington with the Southern 500 on Labor Day turns out to be the very correct thing to do. And I'll admit that and say that to anybody that asks.
43 strong, coming to the green flag for the Southern 500.
It was bringing it all back home. That is just a remarkable happening. All the planets were in alignment, and it was such fun to do.
Real special occasion. What do you think of the old place this evening?
Well, it hasn't changed a lot as far as the racetrack itself is concerned, chewing up the tire just like way back in the early days.
That's what these drivers wanted. They've got their hands full out there tonight.
At the cradle of American superspeedway racing, Darlington, South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a race.
That's Darlington. There's no other place like it. When you go run the Southern 500, it's supposed to be Southern 500 hot, and that's so hot you can hardly bear it. That's what made it part of the tradition. I mean, how many fluke Southern 500 winners are there? Not many. Then when they moved the date, that took some of that away. Now, back and it's hot, the pavement's starting to wear out, starting to, you know, get that old Darlington feel. Now it's starting to come back.
Granted, it's smoking hot. There's an argument that it's, you know, maybe a deterrent for fans. It's certainly tough on the teams and the drivers. But at the end of the day, the Southern 500 is really needed on our schedule. This is the history of the sport.
Carl Edwards. He'll add his name to the legends that have won at Darlington.
Darlington's been such a big racetrack to me. It looms so large in the racing world that win's special.
For the Southern 500 to be one of our sport's biggest 4 races, it needs to stay on that date. Tradition matters.
Man, I have to hand it to her. The lady in black has held up well. With all her Southern spellbinding charm, this is a lady you'll never forget.